Kawaki getting his limiters removed will actually make him stronger than Boruto, and there is a lot of evidence to back this up, as this statement may sound crazy, but there is some information that points to this being the case. And the first thing that we have to discuss to fully understand why Kawaki could actually end up being stronger than Boruto is by explaining the gap in their power. Timeskip Kawaki, based on the chapters that we have seen and the fights that we have seen him in, he has been surprisingly weak. With a Kawaki who was basically the strongest person in the village apart from maybe Damien, we saw a Kawaki who was terrorizing the verse. But when the time skip came to be, this was no longer the case, and the gap between Boruto and Kawaki was made quite clear after Boruto basically one-shotted Kawaki and pointed out everything that we thought regarding Kawaki's situation. It's as if he had hardly trained. This initially caused a lot of people to feel like the writers were ruining Kawaki's character to make Boruto seem so strong, and especially due to the fact that there are timelines that occurred and that Kashin Koji saw where Kawaki ended up losing to Code. They felt like Kawaki's reputation and basically his entire character was being ruined. A timeskip Kawaki who appeared quite lazy, as if he had not trained, and a Boruto who was basically a demigod walking throughout the verse with everybody who feared him. Due to everything that Kawaki did with omnipotence, people believed that he would have a strong resolve and showed that through his training or through whatever means possible for him to get power during the time skip. But when that did not happen, a lot of people started to feel like it was unlike Kawaki. The situation that he found himself in the time skip was so unlike the Kawaki we saw in part 1. But this whole stance was quickly debunked in chapter 15 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, as it explains exactly why Kawaki is as strong as he is right now. Basically not really strong and not a competitor to Boruto, but it also gave us a way for Kawaki to actually get as strong as Boruto, a way for Kawaki to at least close the gap. As we find out that Kawaki has been secretly nerfed by Amato. Kawaki has essentially been given limiters so he can only be able to fight code level threats, or threats that are a bit stronger than Jigen, which is basically Code's level. But this not only debunks everything that people say regarding Kawaki's character in the time skip and how Kishimoto is intentionally trying to ruin Kawaki's character to make Boruto look good. Not only is this being debunked, but we have actually found a way for Kawaki to get stronger in a way that fits his character and the writing that he has been given. When it comes to Boruto, Boruto follows a path of the shinobi, as this is one that has been constantly made clear when it comes to his character. The fact that Boruto has to endure similar hardship to Naruto, but still rise up and not give up. That is what it means to be a shinobi, to endure anything while remaining hopeful of a better future. This is what allows Boruto to continue training and focusing on improving his chakra control, learning various sorts of techniques like a shinobi would do. However, Kawaki doesn't follow that same path, and with his writing, we see that he follows a path more like the Otsutsuki's, getting stronger through various upgrades, like one that we saw with Amato and him getting the karma. We see Otsutsuki's do something similar with the chakra fruits. And Kawaki, even when he lost his karma, he was still looking for ways to shortcut his training. Like when he was training with Team 7, he wanted to have life or death battles and skip the training side so that he could essentially get stronger to fight versus Code. These are the methods that Kawaki tends to go down towards, one that skips past all the years of trainings that he describes as inefficient and goes directly to the source of power. We have two different approaches, and at first it looked like we had two different outcomes. one where Boruto's approaches ended up working and one where Kawaki didn't. But with the fact that we learned that Amato has been tampering with Kawaki, this now means that Kawaki's method of getting stronger hasn't necessarily been yet shown to be a bad way, as the reason why he isn't so strong is because Amato has personally ensured that this is the case. Boruto, throughout the time skip, even though there were shortcuts that were made to make it so that Boruto was strong enough to fight the likes of the Senju, he still had to end up taking time and working hard to master the jutsus that he would know in the future. While now, the path that Kawaki has to take is one where he doesn't have to go through training. We saw Boruto literally say that maybe that's an option he should have taken before, but right now, they simply don't have the time. So what Kawaki must do is go and confront Amato so that he ends up removing the limiters that he has placed on him, and thus Kawaki would now become a lot stronger. And there are a few ways this could actually end up going. We know through the method that Code ended up getting his limiters removed was one where Code ended up physically threatening Amato, and thus Amato ended up removing his limiters. And that's due to the fact that Amato is now resistant to various sorts of interrogation that end up involving pain. Amato literally told Shikamaru that if Code forced him, he would definitely end up removing his limiters. Whether Amato is lying and made it appear so because he wanted to help out Code, that's a story for another day. However, we do know that Amato has a weakness when it comes to him being physically threatened. So with Kawaki and just how strong he is compared to the likes of Amato, it could be quite simple for him to threaten Amato and tell him that, yo, I want you to remove any sorts of limitations that he has placed on me. Maybe Amato could refuse at first, but with Kawaki, who becomes a little more hostile, Amato will definitely buckle and end up reverting Kawaki back to his normal stats. Or there is another situation where they both form a deal, and Amato ends up accepting to revert Kawaki back to his normal stats if he ends up implanting the karma on his daughter, or whatever plan that Amato has when it comes to Delta and bringing back his daughter's true soul. This is an outcome that can end up happening. However, with the way that Boruto ends up describing this conversation, Kawaki's power-up will not result from him going down the training path, which would be completely against his character, but one where he ends up getting an upgrade, shortcutting the training that a true shinobi would go under. But if Kawaki ends up getting that upgrade and is reverted back to how it should have been, is he going to be stronger than Ishiki? And how strong exactly will he be? And the simple answer, due to all the evidence that we have been given, is that Kawaki is Ishiki's perfect vessel. We saw an Ishiki in an imperfect vessel who was able to go toe to toe with the likes of Baryon or Naruto. Now imagine Ishiki but with a perfect vessel, and that is Kawaki. Kawaki will now be having Ishiki's full-on abilities. He has fully mastered Ishiki's dojutsu, the Kokugan, and has been able to use the Daikokoden, Sukona Hikonen, however he pleases. So now that he is reverted back to his normal stats, as we know that Amato was tampering with his offensive and defensive capabilities to make sure that basically nobody could kill him, due to that happening, Kawaki became a lot weaker. But when Kawaki ends up confronting Amato, those stats will be reverted, so he is more Ishiki-like. And then on, he would be officially at bare minimum Ishiki level. And this is where I say that Boruto could actually end up being a little bit weaker than Kawaki. Because how strong is Boruto right now? At first, we all had the assumption that Boruto was stronger than Ishiki due to the fact that Kawaki, who is a perfect vessel of Ishiki, who was basically one-shotted by Boruto. But after figuring out that Amato tampered with Kawaki's stats, we can no longer use that argument to end up scaling Boruto to Ishiki level. Then the only place that he is at is Jigen plus level because he was able to easily defeat Up Cold. However, he wasn't able to defeat Jiraiya, and he literally said that Jiraiya is too much for him to handle by himself, which basically proves that Boruto is not stronger than Jiraiya. We don't also know if Jiraiya is stronger than Ishiki. All we do know is that he is Jigen plus level. So with a Kawaki who now is going to get back his stats, which will mean that he is at bare minimum Ishiki level, we will now truly see how strong these characters are. Because if a Kawaki gets his limiters removed, making him Ishiki level, and then the likes of Jiraiya and Boruto are able to keep up with him, it would mean that Jiraiya and Boruto are Ishiki level or more. Or if Kawaki is defeated by Jiraiya, then it means that Jiraiya is stronger than Ishiki. And if Boruto maybe loses to Kawaki while they are trying to gauge how strong Kawaki has now become, then it would mean that Boruto is not only weaker than Kawaki, but isn't as strong as Ishiki at the current moment. Because this is the main method of Kawaki getting stronger for him to fight Jiraiya. So after this, we shouldn't really expect another power up for Kawaki for quite some time, because this is him basically developing in a full-on Ishiki level threat. But now, based on what happens after Kawaki's stats are restored to where it was supposed to be, now we can start to gauge how strong Jiraiya, Boruto, Damon, and these new Senju threats are when it comes to the likes of the high tier characters that we saw in Boruto Part 1 like Ishiki and Baryon or Naruto. We are a few statements away, a few fights away after Kawaki gets his limiters removed to see just how strong characters are in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. But talking about ways that Kawaki could end up getting stronger, one thing I have been feeling for quite some time is that we haven't seen the true capabilities of Kawaki's Kokugan, and the Kokugan is the official name for Ishiki's eye that Kawaki inherited from him. When we see and read some of the text regarding Ishiki and some of his plans, we do come to understand that he has some sort of wish granting ability. That's the theory that everybody has, as he said that he would grant the wishes of all Kara members that ended up helping him to get this chakra fruit that he wanted to create. This is what has caused a lot of people to believe that he has some sort of wish granting ability. But what if it isn't the case? Maybe it is the case that one of those abilities is a wish granting ability. I don't deny that, but what if it is a different outcome and we are looking at it from the wrong angle? What if Ishiki knew already what their wishes were and had the abilities necessary to grant them? So instead of him having a wish granting ability, he simply had the abilities necessary to grant the wishes that they had. And the wish in particular that is the most interesting to me is Amato's wish to bring his daughter back. The problem with Amato bringing his daughter back was the fact that no matter how many bodies or no matter how many ways that Amato would bring back his daughter, the soul wouldn't be the same. So it means that what Amato was looking for from Ishiki was some sort of soul manipulation that would allow him to bring Amato's daughter's soul back in the body that he chooses. And this is what Amato called stepping into the domain of gods. This is what Amato expected Ishiki to do. But after understanding that the creation of a chakra fruit would ultimately destroy the planet, there was no point in bringing his daughter back if that planet would be destroyed. But if Amato knew that Ishiki had that ability and is now counting on Kawaki, then it must mean that Kawaki will have some sort of an ability that allows him to manipulate souls in a way that maybe can transfer a soul from one body to another or something completely different, but it has to do with soul manipulation. And I'm already working on a video discussing the mythology of Amato's name and how it could lead to us believing that Kawaki has some sort of soul manipulation ability is simply due to the fact that Amato's last name is Sanzu. And if you link it to the Sanzu River, which is the path that souls take to end up reaching the next stage of life, then it also comes to reinforce the fact that Kawaki could end up having a soul-related ability that allows him to manipulate souls and put them in various bodies as he pleases. And the fact that the first goal between Kawaki and Boruto was for Kawaki to end up helping Boruto to get rid of the karma, things get a lot more interesting. But I'm still working on that video, so let me know your initial thoughts. But even if Kawaki's upgrade doesn't make him stronger than Boruto, what will make him stronger than Boruto is if Kawaki ends up eating one of the Thorn Souls of the Senju. And that's why you have to watch this video right here to find out if it is really a possibility.